from break in just about a minute or so. After the bottom of the hour news, we're going to be speaking to Arnie Draiman. No, this is not about the weather. This is about philanthropy in Israel. He is a professional philanthropic consultant here in Israel. He represents different philanthropists and their financial interests, their tzedakah, as it is said in Hebrew, their interests in tzedakah. People from all over the world, he represents them. He's their man on their ground, their eyes and their ears into the world of philanthropy here in Israel. So this should be an exciting interview. I don't think we've done this topic since I've been on the air, so I'm looking forward to that. He's in the green room getting ready right now. He's wait, is he going to buy milk now? No, tell him there's no time. We got about 5 minutes. He can't leave anywhere. He's not going to get milk. Stay here, Arnie. We're coming back right after the break. Josh Hasten here, Voice of Israel, getting ready for the storm. Hope you are doing well. Be safe, everyone out there. Don't go out if you're here in Israel. Just stay home. Enjoy a little cocoa by the fire. You too can be part of the conversation here on Voice of Israel. Check us out on Twitter at VOIsrael, on Facebook. Give us a like, Voice of Israel. And, of course, our brand new website where we are streaming this broadcast from, voiceofisrael.com. That's where it's all happening live on demand. We got it all videos. Thanks to Hermie, who's engineering. Rachel, our producer, couldn't do it without these people. Josh Hasten, Voice of Israel, bottom of the hour news, and we'll be right back.
Broadcasting live to the world from Jerusalem.
大家好，我是李慧若。现在你在收听的是以色列之声。
Bonjour, ça c'est le voice-d'israel.com.
आप सुन रहे हैं The Voice of Israel, Jerusalem से.
Vivo de Jerusalén. Están escuchando al voicedeisrael.com.
Voiceofisrael.com, connecting the world to Israel and Israel to the world.
And we are back live in Jerusalem. Josh Hasten here. It is 3:34 in the afternoon on a cloudy day, the 6th of January 2015, preparing for the mega storm. Our last guest, Dr. Barry Lynn from Weather It Is, said this is going to be a 5-dayer. So it could be even worse than last year. It's anticipating blizzard-like conditions. He did not give an estimate on the amount of snow, but then that is irrelevant, he says, because when it's a blizzard, it all comes at once, and it's windy, etc. So we're going to take a break from the weather right now. We're going to talk philanthropy. Okay, it's something we haven't done enough on the show, if at all. Joining us in studio is Arnie Draiman. He's a philanthropic consultant, represents philanthropists all over the world and their financial interests, their tzedakah here in Israel. Arnie, thank you so much for joining us. Josh Hasten Show, Voice of Israel.
My pleasure.
Do you have milk? That's the first question. Did you go out and get milk? As our last guest said, he recommended we have milk. You get milk till Sunday. Did you do that? I know you're a resident of Jerusalem.
Got milk.
You have milk. Okay. I just wanted to make sure before we went any further. And I used to sit in the back row of a synagogue next to Arnie, just for reference there. And he, by the way, he's the most casual dresser in the synagogue as a compliment. That's not an insult. It's a compliment. So anyway, philanthropy.
Yes.
Tell us, if you can, overall, just the general status of philanthropy. I mean, I know people go to school and study the art of philanthropy. What's the situation like here in Israel? Are we a giving people? Are we giving here as Israelis? And your interests around the world in terms of their projects here. Tell us just the overall picture. What's going on here in Israel?
First of all, in general, Israeli culture lends itself to a very productive, high level of tzedakah, of giving. I don't like to use the word charity, first of all. Tzedakah, if not clear what it means, righteous giving, we'll call it. The easiest way to look at it is that certainly in the ultra-Orthodox communities, in most Orthodox communities, we have a very high level of participation in different kinds of funds, not only financial funds, but other kinds of funds that allow lending of all kinds of things that people would need. Anything from shavers if your razor breaks to chairs and tables for different events that are going on, etc. And you see that there's furniture is recycled from house to house to house to house over the years. All kinds of stuff happens here that just doesn't happen overseas. So the statistics that I've read is that we are overall, not just financial, but if you include the entire picture, about 7-to-1. More than many other Western nations.
That's impressive, yes.
It's huge.
That's
huge,
great.
Huge.
So give yourself a pat on the back there if you're here in this country, if you're in Israel, in terms of your philanthropy. That's great to hear. But in terms of the clients you represent, You're essentially their eyes and their ears here on the ground in Israel. So how do you choose? There are thousands. You probably have the exact number. Do you know how many philanthropies, how many tzedakahs there are here in Israel?
Okay, so there are 30,000 nonprofits registered with the Registrar of Nonprofits.
Right.
Of the 30,000, about 10,000 are active. Of the 10,000 that are active, I can safely say that there are several hundred that I prefer to work with. I have not checked out all 10,000, but I work mostly in the specific fields that deal with frontline tzedakah-related issues. So, for example, poverty, clothing, housing, youth at risk, elderly, immigrant issues, etc. I don't do anything in the fields of, for example, art, museums, universities, things like that, which are also considered nonprofits.
And these are based, I'm talking about these frontline causes that you talked about. Are these based specifically on what your clients, what the donors abroad want, or is it a combination of what they want plus what you're telling them to do based on the needs? Because you are, again, you're here on the ground.
Right. It's a combination of both because I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. That is where my expertise lies. That is what I know best. People who want to use me to help them give out their funds here will use me for what I do best, and probably not ask me questions about other things that I'm not as familiar with.
And you've gotten to know a lot of philanthropists over the years, yes?
Yes,
in your business.
Yes.
Talk about these righteous people who you call mitzvah heroes. Talk about them. Apparently, as you've indicated, some have passed away. Some reputable donors, philanthropists have passed away. But then there's a slew of up-and-coming donors as well. Who are these mitzvah heroes that you work with?
Let me make a distinction first of all.
Please.
I learned my profession from Danny Siegel. Danny Siegel is the expert in micro-philanthropy in the United States. He ran his own Tzedakah fund for about 35, 40 years. He's still active, lecturing around the United States and Canada. You can check him out at DannySiegel.com. It's very simple. He's an author of about 25 to 30 books on Israel and Tzedakah and text, things related to that. He coined the term, more or less, mitzvah heroes. That term relates to the actual people who run the nonprofits. He called his Tzedakah fund Ziv. Ziv is a very interesting Hebrew word, more or less means radiance or aura that you see on the face, and the question is the face of whom? So he always said it was not just the face of the recipients who you would be giving tzedakah to, and it could be, again, in the form of cash or items or just helping a person in need, etc., but also on the face of the donor. So when you mention a mitzvah hero, specifically we refer to the person who runs the nonprofit, the creative genius in that field who decided this is the way I'm going to feed hungry people. That person's our mitzvah hero.
And not the philanthropist.
And not the philanthropist,
interesting.
Correct. And by the way, in the mitzvah hero world, we never capitalize the H in hero because none of them ever want to be considered like up on a pedestal. They all want to be just regular people doing regular things that for them is a regular part of their life. We look at it and we're awestruck about how amazing the work that they're doing.
I mean, it's got to be, you have a situation where you have these individuals who are unique and perhaps have put these important causes before their own personal, let's say, financial success. Because obviously, we are dealing with non-profits here. They're doing it because of mostly, I'd guess, ideological reasons for philanthropic reasons, and I guess that's why it's so much easier to give them the lower H and for them to be accepting of it, or for them to actually being the ones who request that lower H in the word hero.
Correct. What we find is that first of all, you should know that in the nonprofit world, automatically that does not mean that people are earning no salary or low salaries.
Of course.
There are plenty of, every so often you'll see, I think it just came out either in the Jewish Week or the Forward, I forget which one, just 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, the list of CEOs in the United States who are earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
I did see that.
In nonprofits. Same thing goes on here in Israel. I'll make it clear. I don't work with any of those. I cannot recommend any of those. I have no problem with a person earning a decent living, even a slightly above average living, but it is a nonprofit, and the rejoinder always is, well, how do you expect to draw good people into the field if you're not going to pay them a decent salary? Good people who want to work in the field will work in the field at a good salary, not a great salary.
So if their salary is enough to pay, I don't know, cover the entire budget of a small country, then it's not somebody who you would want to work for.
Probably not.
And that's pretty vague, but I understand what you're saying. So if you can give us these specifics in terms of those individuals, if you can, mention those who are unfortunately who have passed on, and the up and coming people, anybody you have specifically in mind here on the ground in Israel.
So let me take one step back.
Or around the world, sorry,
yes,
who contribute to Israel.
Right, exactly. So let's take one step back.
Sure.
Let's talk about the donors first.
Please.
One of my, first of all, until about 5 years ago, the financial crisis in the world, 2008, we had a lot of active donors, not just myself, but a lot of nonprofits saw donors from all over the place, all over the world, giving all kinds of funds here. I won't say loosely, but they were very easy to give their money away. With the crash in 2008, things have become much more tight, and therefore donors are giving less money, less often, and to fewer projects.
Gotcha.
So that it's hard to compare to what was 5 years ago to what it was today. Every so often we hear that there's an upswing. We think things are coming back. It hasn't really happened yet. I think the major money is still from the United States and Canada, and until the economy there is solid enough that the donors, the people with the money, feel comfortable in giving away excess money, then they're just not going to give it away as quickly as they were doing once upon a time.
And is there anybody specific here in Israel that you represent? I know we're talking about international donors, but do you have clients here on the ground who also are involved in philanthropy? And if it's not you per se, do philanthropists here take advantage of the similar services which you provide in order to direct them towards some of these charities? Maybe they're just too busy. They don't want to go up to Rosh Hanikra and look at an orphanage or a youth hostel or down to Eilat, and they send somebody else in their place. Does that exist here?
I'm sure it exists. I haven't heard of it. I have no doubt. There are a lot of philanthropists here in Israel, Israelis born here, raised here, made their money here. A lot of second generation, third generation, the children and grandchildren of the Tenuvas, Strausses, Elites, the big companies here in Israel. They're all out there with money. Many of them are very active in the nonprofit world. Some more so, some less so.
I want to talk about a few other aspects, including a little bit of Torah here.
Yes.
But we have to take a soft break if that's okay. Can
Sure.
you stay for another segment? Just want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, you don't have to run out and get any more milk or anything. You're good.
Got milk.
Okay. We are here in studio with Arnie Draiman. My name is Josh Hasten. This is Voice of Israel. We're going to take a soft break. Be right back with more. It is cloudy out there and windy, and it's going to stay like that. 5 days of a storm. Unbelievable stuff here, but we want to focus on philanthropy. Don't go anywhere. You can check us out on Twitter at VOIsrael, on Facebook, Voice of Israel, and, of course, our website, voiceofisrael.com. My name is Josh Hasten. You, too, can be a part of the conversation. Don't forget to do so. My email, by the way, josh@voiceofisrael.com. Thank you for those who do, in fact, communicate via email. We will be right back with Arnie Draiman. Do not go anywhere.
This is Voice of Israel.
When it's cold and rainy outside is the perfect time to cuddle up with your computer or your smartphone and listen to Voice of Israel. This is Eve Harrow, host of Rejuvenation. My fellow show hosts and I put a tremendous amount of effort into putting interesting content out for you to hear. Cup of hot chocolate, throw in a couple marshmallows, and we're all yours.
אצל דוד קנית אחלה חומוס בביטה. This is Voice of Israel. This is the Voice of Israel.
ascultați la Vocea de Israel, drept din Ierusalim.
אתם מאזינים לשידור החי של Voice of Israel.
وفي الإنترنت voiceofisrael.com.
Broadcasting live to the world from Jerusalem. This is Voice of Israel.
And we are back in Jerusalem. Josh Hasten here, Voice of Israel. Thank you so much for joining us on this cloudy and windy day. We are in studio with Arnie Draiman. He is a philanthropic consultant representing the interests of philanthropists all over the world. Thanks again, Arnie, for joining us here on Voice of Israel.
Pleasure.
Let's talk a little Torah.
Sure.
Is that all right with you? Because, I mean, it is a Torah concept to give tzedakah. You don't like the word charity, and I understand that.
Correct.
Generous giving. What is the word you exact word?
Righteous giving.
Righteous giving. So in terms of righteous giving and righteous givers, there is a tradition, I believe, that says that there are 36 extremely righteous, out of the ordinary righteous people in the world who make the world go around, and without them, we would have no world. And I want to have you elaborate on that. I'm not a Torah scholar, but how many righteous people in your book are there in the world? And talk about a little bit about this, the concept of 36.
Yeah, first of all, 36 is well known. The Hebrew letters that are used to denote numbers, it's called a system called gematria. 30 is a lamed, and 6 is a vav, so they are called lamed vavniks, those 36. There's all kinds of traditions in history about related to that. It starts more or less in the Talmudic era, about 2,000 years ago. The rabbis spoke about 36 people who are who keep the world moving.
Right.
They're the ones who keep the world alive. They have a certain divine presence in them. They know what to do, how to do it. One of the best things that we always hear about them is that if anyone ever claims to be one of them, then clearly they're not.
Okay, interesting. If somebody comes up, so you're saying you don't know if you are.
That's right.
Nobody
That's
knows.
Right. Nobody knows.
It could be you.
It could be you. I can't say.
It could be Hermie in there. It could be Rachel. It could be anybody.
But I can't say if it's me, because if I say it's me, then
it's really not you.
That's right. So I'll just stay quiet.
Interesting.
just in case.
And as I have my Torah sources in front of me, there was also a passage in the book of Daniel, I believe, which is related to this whole concept.
So what I want to do is, the problem with the 36 righteous is that we've grown up learning that there are only 36 righteous people in the world.
Okay.
And that's terrible, because there are hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of righteous
millions.
people.
Could be. No?
I'll go that far.
Okay.
Millions.
Okay.
In fact, let me tell you what it says.
Please.
In the book of Daniel, thank you for bringing that up.
No problem.
We have a very interesting phrase right near the end. Right near the end of the book, it says "Umatzdikei harabim kekochavim le'olam v'ed," that those who bring people to do the right thing, umatzdikei harabim, those who bring tzedek, who make the public do the right thing, they are like kochavim le'olam v'ed. They are like the stars forever and ever. Great phrase, by the way, le'olam v'ed, forever and ever. Now, in the Sifrei on Devarim, that's also a commentary written about 2,000 years ago, same time as the Talmud, it says the following. It says, Ma kochavim roim oram mesofa olam ba'ad sofo. Just like stars, you can see their light from one end of the world to the other. The same as with tzaddikim, with righteous people, okay? That you can see their light from one end of the world to the other. And just like it says, Kochavim, pa'amim nigalim, pa'amim nechasim. Sometimes the stars are revealed and sometimes they're hidden. You don't see them cloudy day, for example.
Right.
Like maybe the next 5 days, I've heard.
Yes.
So same thing with righteous people. Sometimes they're revealed, sometimes they're hidden. And then here's the best part. It says, Uma kochavim kitot she'en lehem minyan. Just like stars are in the sky in sets of clusters. Kitot, like a kitot, like a class, right? Or, clusters and clusters of stars. So are tzaddikim. Kach tzaddikim kitot she'en lehem minyan. That there's no number to the number of tzaddikim. They're innumerable, uncountable. That's
beautiful stuff.
Okay? And that's what I like to work with, so that I know that wherever I go in the world, anywhere I go, I can look and find and ask people about who's doing good stuff for you in your neighborhood, in your city, in your town, wherever. And that's how we can find these mitzvah heroes, these people doing the good work. So the point is, don't think there are only 36. There are millions.
And for you personally, it is obvious from the conversation that this isn't just a gig for you. This isn't just a job, but this is and I can see you're prepared. This is a religious experience to be able to be a part of this giving process.
Yeah.
Yes?
I'm very fortunate that I walked into this with Danny Siegel, as I mentioned, about 19 years ago. He asked me, I was on shlichut. I've been living in Israel for 30 years. I was on shlichut in the United States.
How do you say that in English? Shlichut?
Shlichut. I was a emissary.
Emissary, yes. Jinx. Go ahead. Keep going.
I was an emissary on behalf of some government agencies here in the United States, working in the United States for 3 years. On my way back, Danny said, my Tzedakah fund is growing and growing. I've had somebody working with me, but I really want somebody to, as you said, be the ears and eyes on the ground, see what's going on, not just write a check and blindly send it over and hope that they're using the money the right way.
Right.
And Danny's had a great Tzedakah fund. The last 5 years of his fund, he was giving away over $1 million a year. One of the people I mentioned who survived the crash of 5 years ago is Ron Gallatin. I work with. His Tzedakah fund is called Hands on Tzedakah, and it's handsontzedakah.org. And he too has been collecting. It's not just his personal money. Danny Siegel, by the way, he's a poet, a writer. He's not he's a philanthropist in the classic sense of he has no money but uses everybody else's money. And Ron is a financial person from Wall Street, but he and his friends and his family and others get together, and together they pool their money and have created a great Tzedakah fund where they give out also about $1 million a year to causes here in Israel and throughout the world.
That is nice.
It's great.
That is unbelievable stuff. And unfortunately, as you said, the economy crashed and a lot of people were left without and unable to give. But let me ask you this, and maybe this is a silly question. I don't know. I mean, we just had a war this summer here in Israel.
Yes.
And I mean, my experience is when things get bad, I guess the general rule is that people are willing and somehow able to give during those times. I know when the rockets were raining down in Sderot, I did a little bit of fundraising or public relations work down there. And when the rockets were falling 50, 60 a day a few years ago, unfortunately, for the people who live there, but on the other hand, that was the easiest in terms of sharing the story and being able to raise the funds. Now, in lieu of the crash, this summer's war, tell me how those two correlate. I mean, were there people who somehow managed to go ahead and give money, whether it was to soldiers, to communities on the front lines, et cetera, despite their financial restrictions? Or
for sure.
There were. Okay, good.
We had not just through the funds that I work with and the philanthropists that I represent, but also throughout the country. We saw a lot of money coming in from overseas, not just from the United States, but Jewish communities around the world and non-Jewish communities around the world. And the only question that came up from the money raised during the war, or the money donated during the war, is how it would affect the traditional Rosh Hashanah giving time. The Jewish New Year always comes out sometime around September.
Right.
The war ended in August, and indeed a lot of nonprofits took a big hit in September, and hopefully right now, at the end of 2014, they had recouped some of their funds, so that instead of getting them traditionally donated in September, October, they were being donated now December 2014, and now we're in January 2015, and hopefully things will be picking up again for this year.
Definitely, we definitely hope so. Now, this is a question I see here, a part of your bio. I don't want to mislead the listeners. This isn't something I came up with, but I'm going to ask this question, okay?
Go ahead.
When is giving tzedakah a criminal offense? This was an interesting question that I have here as part of your bio. If you can elaborate and explain that for the listeners, please.
My pleasure. Thank you for leading that one in.
No problem.
I tend to believe that most people who give tzedakah want to give it the best way they possibly can. There are some people who just give it because they want to get you off your back if you're asking them all the time for money and whatever. But in general, I think people want to do good. They feel good about doing good. Today, it's very easy to make contributions to tzedakah. You can just go online, click, 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 and you're done. You've already made your contribution. Even just still writing a check is pretty simple. Putting in an envelope, if the nonprofit sent you an envelope, it's even easier. Self-addressed stamp, whatever, gone and finished. One thing a lot of people don't bother to check is how the nonprofit uses the funds that you're donating, and that's really where my expertise comes in. What I like to say is that what's the definition of a mitzvah hero? It's a great person doing great work, but doing it efficiently and effectively. And that's really what's important here, is to understand the efficiency and the effective calculation. How do you make that? So, for example, if you really wanted to support the Purple Chair Society of Israel.
Okay.
Great nonprofit project. There you go. And you're living in North America, and you decide, you know what? Oh, they have an American Friends of the National Purple Chair Society of Israel. I think I'll make a contribution. So you donate $100 to the American Friends of. And turns out that American Friends of the Purple Chair Society takes about 25% out of that donation for their administrative expenses, whatever, and they pass on to the actual organization here in Israel 75%. So that they get $75 here.
Right.
Well, it turns out here the organization also has about 25% administration, overhead, et cetera, expenses. So let's say that's about another $20. That leaves $55. So you donated $100, and only $55 actually went to what you thought you were giving to. That's like half.
Right.
In my book, that's terrible. In
So
fact,
that's the criminal offense.
it's almost criminal. Now,
Right.
how can I back that up?
Okay, but do it quickly. We have about 30 seconds, unfortunately.
To finish?
Yes.
Okay, no problem.
Do it quickly.
No
Sorry.
problem. So in the book of Mishlei, Proverbs, it says, Al tigzol dal ki dal, who don't steal from a poor person because he is poor. What can you possibly steal from a poor person if he's poor? What's due to him? He's entitled to his tenth, his tzedakah, his gleanings from the field, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're cheating him out of it, you're criminally liable.
So it's your job to find those heroes, the
Yes.
mitzvah heroes out
Yes.
there who are not making these criminal or carrying out these criminal offenses. I want to
Correct.
thank you. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I definitely want to
problem.
have you back on to learn more about the important work you do. If people want to get in touch with you to find out more about the wonderful charities, not charities, tzedakahs.
Thank you.
You work with. How can people get in touch with you?
Email is ajdraiman, DRAIMAN, @gmail.com, ajdraiman@gmail.com, or my website, draimanconsulting.com.
Thank you so much, Arnie Draiman, for your insight. And what an uplifting conversation in terms of philanthropies in Israel. I really appreciate it. Josh Hasten here, Voice of Israel. We are done for today. Going to go outside and check out the weather, maybe buy a little bit of milk. Join us again tomorrow, taped live. You'll have to see. Check us out.
You are listening to Voice of Israel, premier news talk from the heart of Jerusalem. To listen to more great audio, register for our live streaming broadcasts at voiceofisrael.com. Voice of Israel, bringing Israel closer.